Welcome to Factual America, where we cut through the noise and pull back the curtain on the forces shaping our nation. Today, we're diving into a controversial and critical topic, one that many would rather leave unexplored: the globalists' plan for America's decline. Is there truly a systematic agenda orchestrated behind closed doors, all designed to erode America's strength, prosperity, and independence? Buckle up, because once you see the big picture, you may never look at current events the same way again. If you've followed Factual America, you know we don't deal in conspiracy for its own sake. We follow the money, the power, and the stories mainstream media quietly ignores. Globalism is a word tossed about, sometimes carelessly, sometimes strategically. But what does it really mean for America? And more importantly, who stands to gain from America's decline on the world stage? To understand the so-called globalist plan, we need to define our terms. Globalism is the ideology that prioritizes international cooperation and integration, sometimes at the expense of national interests. In theory, it's about peace and prosperity. In practice, critics argue it's become a tool for the world's elite to dilute nationhood, culture, and sovereignty, consolidating power far from American hands. So who are these so-called globalists? Think beyond elected politicians. They're bankers at the World Economic Forum, tech titans in Silicon Valley, multinational CEOs, even royalty. Many hide in plain sight. Their meetings, G20 summits, Davos conferences, shape policies that regular Americans often never hear about until the impacts hit home. One crucial twist: globalists don't hate America. In fact, they see it as an essential pawn. America has long been a symbol and instrument of Western strength. Yet for their broader project, worldwide interdependence and centralized control, an assertive, independent United States is problematic. So how do you tame the beast without waking the public? You subtly induce decline. Let's start with the economy. America's manufacturing was once the envy of the world. But starting in the 90s, trade deals like NAFTA and China's embrace by the World Trade Organization, both pushed by global elites, hollowed out U.S. industry. The result? Whole towns shuttered, wages flatlined, and many Americans left behind, while multinational profits soared. This isn't just an accident of history, it was predicted, even touted as a price worth paying for economic modernization. At Davos in 2000, leaders openly celebrated globalization's winners and shrugged off its losers. The chilling twist here is that the American middle class, once our backbone, became collateral damage. Now let's talk about culture. America's identity was once rooted in shared values: freedom, faith, and family. But globalists tend to see national pride as an obstacle. The answer: undermine patriotism, erase historical memory, and promote a citizen of the world mentality. This philosophy seeps into academia, entertainment, and even government agencies. If you think this sounds far-fetched, consider the textbook changes, the language policing, or the branding of traditional American values as outdated. These are not random cultural shifts. They're coordinated campaigns to breed a generation less loyal to America, more open to the idea of global governance. But what about our democracy itself? Here's where the picture becomes even more troubling. Supranational institutions, be they the United Nations, World Health Organization, or the International Monetary Fund, push policies the American voter never got to approve. Sometimes our own representatives act as messengers for decisions made in foreign boardrooms. Take, for example, the push for digital currencies. Many globalists dream of a cashless society where every transaction is tracked, monitored, and, if necessary, controlled. The Federal Reserve is already piloting digital dollar programs modeled after China's social credit system. The line between national sovereignty and global compliance grows razor thin, but perhaps nowhere is the globalist agenda more controversial than on the southern border. Mass migration is not an accident. It's the result of deliberate policies that encourage open borders and erase the distinctions between citizen and non-citizen. This isn't about compassion, it's about reshaping the electorate and the economy. Look at the language. No human is illegal. Diversity is our strength. These are more than slogans. They're engineered to stifle dissent, to shame anyone who questions the wisdom of putting Americans last. Yet, as communities strain and crime rises, the architects of these policies remain insulated, often living in gated mansions far from the chaos. Now let's toss a wrench into this narrative, a twist globalists don't want you to see. Their power is not absolute. In fact, populist uprisings from Brexit to the Trump movement have thrown their meticulously laid plans into turmoil. Every time Americans demand their jobs, security, and culture back, the globalist agenda is slowed, if only temporarily. Yet whenever populism surges, mainstream media swings into action, smearing patriots, stoking division, and hinting darkly at authoritarianism. Why? Because unity among Americans threatens the entire globalist project. They know their power depends on a distracted, divided, demoralized public. Also, pay close attention to new policies emerging from crises. The phrase, "never let a good crisis go to waste," isn't just a cliche among globalists. It's a playbook. Whether it's a pandemic, a recession, or climate panic, these events are used to consolidate power, restrict freedoms, and transfer more authority to global institutions. Remember the lockdowns and mandates? Ask yourself, were the rules really about public health, or were they a dress rehearsal for more centralized control where dissent is labeled misinformation and suppressed? That should give every freedom-loving American pause. Immigration, economics, pandemic response, digital compliance, they're all chapters of the same story: the erosion of local power, family autonomy, and national pride. And each time Americans question or resist, the establishment responds with censorship, shaming, and a push for fact-checking, conveniently done by the same institutions with so much to gain from global convergence. But why would American elites sign on to a plan that ultimately hurts their own country? Here's where ideology meets self-interest. Many believe that in the New World Order, they'll be the ones running it. Their loyalty isn't to a flag, but to status, wealth, and power without borders. The nation is just a stepping stone, not a sacred trust. Still, all is not lost. The American spirit was forged in resistance to distant elites. We don't have to accept manufactured decline. In small towns, city councils, school boards, and online forums, people are waking up, organizing, and saying, enough. The twist the globalists didn't count on? Americans, when pushed, push back. Hard. What comes next is up to us. The more Americans learn about these forces, the networks of influence, the money trails, the policy nudges, the better we can resist being pawns on someone else's chessboard. The globalists may have the resources, but we have the numbers. And history is full of examples where that makes all the difference. So what can you do? Educate yourself and your family. Follow the money. Don't accept narratives at face value, especially when they come packaged by those in power. Engage locally. The fight for America's future won't be decided at Davos. It'll be won on our main streets, in our churches, schools, and yes, here on platforms like Factual America. Before we wrap up, let's make one thing clear. Questioning globalist policy isn't about hating others or fearing the world. It's about loving our home, valuing its hard-won freedoms, its unique culture, and its promise to future generations. The real danger isn't out there in some distant land. It's the slow, silent unraveling from within. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe there's a globalist plan behind America's current challenges? Or do you think these changes are just the tides of history? What steps should everyday Americans take to safeguard our country's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe if you value this kind of deep dive, and let us know, what other topics should Factual America tackle next? Remember, knowledge is power, and America's future belongs to the informed. Thank you for watching, and keep questioning.